If you've ever watched the WSL, they talk a lot about surfing on rail. And being a surf coach and a surfboard shaper, I know that a lot of people struggle with surfing on rail. But to an average surfer, what does it mean to surf on rail versus surfing flat? So what I'd like to do is, from my background experience of being a surf coach and making surfboards and competing, is kind of give you a glimpse into what I think rail surfing is. The rails of your surfboard, they're so freaking important. Your rail is shaped round, almost like a bike tire, and when you put pressure on it, in other words, when you displace the water under your rail and you push it down, the buoyancy of the rail wants to pop back out of the water. So what that means is, by leaning over your rail and submersing it under the water, you can get extra lift and drive and pop out of your board, which helps you project up the wave. So if your rail's too thin, it may catch. If your rail's too thick, it's going to be unresponsive and it's going to go in a straight line. But if your rail is right for you and your weight, and however long you're holding that bottom turn for, you're going to get projection and pop and drive out of your rail turn. The other interesting thing is that little bottom tuck under. The more rolled it is, the more smoother your board's going to roll into your rail. The more kind of knifey and square it is, the more kind of your board will just react really quickly and get onto rail. So it does depend on how you surf as to how you want that rail to work for you. The middle part of your board is the widest part of the board, and that's where you get most of your balance from when you stand. But it's also where your rail is the most round. The round part of the rail is where the water sucks onto your board, and it's where you get your hold from. So if you take off and you lean over, the round part of your rail rolls and it engages into the water and it gives you your hold. So you can do a long bottom turn, and then what happens if you want to disengage that turn? If you put a little bit of pressure on that hard sanded edge on the back of your board, if you tap that, it slices the water apart and it disengages the turn, and it allows your board to transition, where you can then go into your heel edge turn and twist. When your fins are in your board, if you're standing in your board and your board is flat, all right, your fins, although they act as stabilizers and give you balance, they also cause drag and then make you go slow. Now, if you've got a stock standard thruster with 3 fins, those 3 fins are slowing you down. However, when you bottom turn and you engage your rail, in other words, you're leaning over, so you're not standing on your board anymore, you've tilted over, your fin is set at a canter, that when you're on rail, you've got more fin in the water. Now, the fin is designed like an aeroplane wing, and an aeroplane wing is got foil that gives it lift. Well, a surfboard fin's got foil that when it's engaged, it will help the board to turn, which means that every time you're on rail and turning your surfboard, you're actually accelerating and going faster, creating speed. When you watch a pro surf, it looks like they got speed on tap. And it surprised me where pro surfers got speed from, because I used to make boards for pro surfers. There was guys on the CT I made boards for. If you surf flat, right, the wave pulls up and you just get left behind, and you always see beginners surfing flat getting left behind. Or if you surfing flat and rushing out to the shoulder, you're not in the zones where the wave has energy. You're kind of mid-face on the shoulder. There's nothing for you there. But when you're in the critical part of the wave, where the wave's drawing the water off and where it's throwing, and you're on rail, that wave will pick you up and it will throw you down with so much speed that then you have the pleasure of trying to control speed and not the problem of trying to create speed. If you have too much volume, you will have a very, very hard time getting your board on rail, because the rail will just pop out if it's too thick, and it'll just make you surf flat. Yes, volume's your friend in the beginning, but there becomes a tipping point where volume then starts to work against you. The other nasty thing about volume is it's almost stolen some knowledge from surfers. Most guys would get online and just go, hey, it's convenient for me to order a board online or something, I can get it straight away. So they look up, volume calculator, you need 30 liters. What about the tail shape? What about the width? What about the thickness? What about the rocker? What about the rail shape? What about your edge? Do you want a hard edge, soft edge? There's all these questions about knowledge that you do not know about the surfboard. Wow, a couple of years back, I'm almost thinking like maybe 15, 20 years ago, giving away my age. But Dane Reynolds came to South Africa. He was surfing all the local contests, the Mr. Price Pro, and then the Billabong CT in J Bay. And he arrived in Durban and his boards got lost in transit. So the Quicksilver team manager brought him around to my place, and I made him some quick boards. It was a weird conversation. I was really excited to see Dane, but when he ordered his boards, he was like, listen, I don't want something that's super fast, I want something that turns. And I'd prided myself on making boards that were really fast. I had this bottom curve that was slightly flatter, it was really, really quick, and it wasn't what he wanted. So I was totally stumped. I didn't know what to make the guy. Now I know in hindsight, he said he did not want an intermediates board, he wants an advanced board. So basically, intermediates love boards that can go onto the shoulder, where they feel safe, where they want to do turns. Dane wanted to surf the pocket. He wanted a board that when he put it on rail, the thing held. And when he put it on rail, the board accelerated, and it gave him the drive and the confidence to surf the pocket. So it wasn't until I kind of surfed Kelly's boards that it made a lot more sense to me. So my friend Craig McKay, who lives in J Bay, Slater would always stay at his house, and whenever he left, he'd leave Craig a board or two. But Craig was bigger than Kelly, so the board's always underbuoyant. So Craig would give me the boards and go, hey, surf it, and then make me a copy. So when I surfed Kelly's board, I was really excited, stood up on the wave and just bolted. I want to see how fast it could go. And straight away fell into that trap of taking an intermediate line and surfed it horizontal. Needless to say, the board felt crap because I did not use it properly. I had to figure out, okay, listen, it's Kelly's board, obviously he likes the damn thing, so what am I doing wrong? And then I thought, well, how does he bottom turn? How does he surf waves? So I changed my line. I went from the top to the bottom, pointed the nose to the beach, put the board on rail, and whoa! The board just took off like a rocket. Held the bottom turn, and straight away I got an understanding as to how I should surf. And it just made more sense that when I was on rail, the board came alive. And the funny thing is, the wave after that, after I had just figured out how to surf it, I got so excited that I defaulted and surfed left to right horizontal as a freaking intermediate again. So there's this funny thing about surfing whereby you get these light bulb moments, but then you get overexcited and you just go back to your dirty old habits. It's important that when you watch good surfers surfing on rail and you figure it out and you understand, that you relax so that you can actually start thinking about the lines that you're taking. If you get overexcited or if you get fearful, you are going to fall into the trap of just doing what you always do.